So what we're going to do over the next hour or so is two things. As well as we're going to find out who you are, we'd also like you to give us some questions for us to start chewing over together. And then we're going to ask some questions of you, if you're okay with that, because you're experts, I know it already. And it would be really valuable to hear some of your perspectives. But could you, whoever feels up for it, could you tell us who you are and what you'd like to talk about today?
My name's Emily. I'm a designer from FutureGov, which is a design and digital company consultancy that works with the government in the UK. We're kind of at the beginning of our measurement journey. We use theories of change, but something I've been grappling with is theories of change are a really great tool with clients to show them that, hey, we've started measuring our prototypes, but what I really struggle with is thinking about long-term impact, because our projects are short-term, typically 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. So we can measure the impact, the sort of interim measures of a prototype or something we've launched with the client, but it's really difficult to think about long-term outcomes if you're dealing with really complex systemic problems of the kind that you've talked about. So whether it's homelessness or children in foster care, improving outcomes, that sort of thing. So I'd be really keen to understand from the room and from you guys if you found any way of bridging that gap, because I haven't yet.
Great. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm a director at Uscreate, which is a service design agency. So one of my objectives since having joined is to to measure impact better at Uscreate, so I suppose in a similar space. So I agree with absolutely everything you say. And today I was looking through all of our previous projects, trying to categorize the various different impacts into outcomes or engagement or innovation, or like this matrix that I've just, created, but there's loads more. And I suppose one of the things that came up today was around how we often work in partnership and we are part of a bigger system. So how on earth do you attribute the impact of preventing homelessness on the design, which is often the catalyst bit at the beginning, versus the frontline staff who actually implement it, the wider system, the politics that are involved? So that's one thought. Second is, I'm really interested, so I think we'll probably also say the same things, but how do you measure impact of things that in a design world are constantly changing? Because actually what you want, rather than you can see impact as a way of demonstrating what works and making the case for other people to take it up, but actually impact is also finding out what doesn't work so you can quickly go back in and change it. And yeah, maybe those are your proxies along the way, but how do you do that?
Brilliant.
This way.
Hi, I'm Cassie Robinson, and I'm the Strategic Design Director at .Everyone, which is an internet think tank fighting for a fairer internet. We're probably at a stage where actually all we're thinking about, because we're still fairly new, is more about just how to measure influence rather than impact. And obviously design is one of the ways that we're trying to sort of create change through prototyping and bringing to life the things we want to see change. But we're much more about influence at .Everyone, but a bit like Kat just described with another hat at the Point People, we've been doing a programme called Systems Changes with Lankelly Chase Foundation. And again, that's much more about if you're trying to influence systems change, where it's all about emergence and multiple actors over time. How do you attribute change to whom?
Hi, I'm Meka. I work in Sapient, which is actually a massive agency. I work more in the private sector, but I'm trying to bring a lot of learnings from the social sector into working in financial and health services on the front line, basically. I think I really struggle a lot because I think it's also the kind of people that I'm surrounded with, is the mental models that I face every day. I think the kind of, when we use words like measurement, when we use words like design, people instinctively have a very, very different understanding of what that means. And I often really, really struggle because a lot of stuff that I come up with is usually, in their words, soft. I think for me, it's just trying to somehow find the balance between having these hard measures that convince the senior stakeholders, but also having these almost soft measures that inspire designers and developers to actually move forward in a way that works for all.
It's funny, isn't it? I mean, it's a different meaning of the word, but there's nothing soft about this work.
Right.
It's probably the hardest work you'll ever do and the most challenging work.
I think I wanted to use the word soft, I just wanted to use the soft to actually provoke that, because that's the word, that's the sort of stuff that I usually come across.
Right.
And sometimes it's also important for us as designers to come out of that bubble and try to almost see it from a critical lens, and try to see how we can shift that thinking.
My name's Collett, and I'm the Research and Evaluation Director at Shift, and we are also a social design organisation. We started focusing quite seriously on research and evaluation probably about 3 years ago. And I've got an example which explains some of the challenges that we're encountering at the moment. So like Emily, we use theories of change, and we use measurement and evaluation frameworks, a lot of which are drawn from international development thinking. And we've got a team which is quite experienced in doing that. And for one of our recent projects, we put together a great evaluation framework with some measures that had been nicely validated and were really, like, the funder was like, yeah, if you can show that, you're really showing us impact. And then as we started to develop the project in an iterative way, the facilitators who are facilitating this community project said to us, we can't use these measures. They're not working for the people who are who we're working with. It's just not working. And at a larger scale, we also have challenges with getting people to give us the kinds of feedback that we maybe want from that framework. So our big challenge now is thinking about how we can embed evaluation metrics in the design so that it's not something that has to be collected separately. And so that's a big and exciting challenge for us at the moment. And I guess what I'm really interested in is other people's experience of doing that. So when I saw that on the screen, I was like, oh, well, how did you collect all of that information? When we're flipping up about RCTs and things like that, how did that get collected? Because data collection is expensive and difficult. So those are my questions. I'm interested in other people's techniques and methods.
Brilliant.
Hi, I'm Haya, and I'm doing my master's in service design. And I'm probably going back home, where design is not the most well-known thing. So how do you guys sell the value of design for especially international organizations? Because I've worked with nonprofits before coming here and with tech startups. And when we were applying as a tech startup for grants with international donors, the biggest challenge was actually how to tell them this is the exact number of people we're gonna impact, or we're actually prototyping and experimenting. You can't get a grant when you're telling a specific type of funders who don't buy, I'm experimenting and I don't know what I'm doing, but we're figuring it out. We're problem finding where we haven't. So yeah, basically. And I just want to learn. I'm just a student, so I want to learn as much as possible.
Hello, my name is Talis. I'm also a design graduate, and I'm here to learn and listen about what you have to say. And I was just wondering, about measurement. For who do we measure? For us as designers, or for someone else? Because I'm hearing all of you talking about how to prove something to someone, to talk, or to show the results. So that's my question.
Hi, I'm Tracy, and I'm a designer from Tasmania and have been here about 18 months. What led me to come here was a project that I did in Hobart for a hospital, which was self-initiated from a personal experience with my father. And over the course of 3 years, it's been a small project where I managed to get a small amount of funding from the director of the emergency department, and we've just actually implemented some things just to help people understand where they are and how they move about in this space. And I'm interested in finding out if it works from them, but I hear all these things to do with measuring and things like that, but when you're with a group of people, and it's taken 3 years to get this project up, and one of the things they said to me is, you have the patience of a saint to help us get through this. When you're working in public and health, for instance, they're already stretched. How on earth can you ask, or how would you ever be able to measure, other than the fact that they tell you it's working? For them, I guess, I don't really know how.
Hi, I'm Marianne. I'm actually a graphic designer, but sort of transitioning into service design. I'm also learning, like you. Tracy and I met on the service design course at St Martin's. I guess for me, my main concern at the moment is that I'm a freelance designer, and I'm starting to try and learn in much smaller ways on smaller projects about social innovation and design for social change. And I guess what I've really found quite difficult is somewhere that I could go to find out about kind of the outcomes and kind of real measured outcomes of other people's work. So I'd be quite interested to maybe talk about how a space where, a kind of communal space where you can learn from other people's outcomes.
Brilliant.
Hi, I'm Gemma. I work for a digital product and service design studio here in London called Normally. I would describe myself as a multidisciplinary designer in that I had a very broad design education, and I've always considered social aspects of design to be kind of integrated with other design disciplines, and so I'm quite curious as to how social design has become its own branch and how the approach might be different, because I hadn't actually thought of that before. I think I had quite a lot of sociology folded into my design education, so I never considered it to be separate. And a bit like Thalas, I had a similar question around why are we measuring, for whom are we measuring, and what are the ethics around measuring. I suppose my instant thought would be that it's so that it can be sold as a practice, but maybe it's deeper than that, and maybe it's more meaningful than that, so it'd be good to have a discussion.
Great. Oh, thanks.
Hello, I'm Florey, and I'm not a designer. I'm the development manager for a social consultancy called Choreo. So we develop talent to create social change. But besides our consultancy work, we also develop our own ventures and our own networks to influence things. And we've been looking a lot into systems change methodologies, different types of innovation, a bit of measurement as well. And I was more interested to know what angle or what sort of methodologies do you use in measuring impact to the project you do.
Cool.
I'm not a designer either. I work both with the Global Impact Hub Network, which is co-working spaces, and they look at a lot of systemic issues, and also thinking about what spaces should be, what civic spaces should be in the UK now that we're losing a lot of the more traditional ways that people used to get together and have conversations. I also work with Florey at Choreo, and I think something that's becoming very interesting when we hear about impact investing is a lot of these green bonds or these angel investors really want to be able to find better ways of understanding companies and measuring things that are hard to measure, such as their purpose, their sustainability, etc. So that was kind of more the angle that I was coming from, just to understand how that can be made more rigorous so that people can make better decisions about the companies that are doing good things.
Hello, my name is Sophie Walker. I work with Kat at Us Creates, and we are a health and wellbeing agency, so health and design, wonderful, thank you. So I'm interested in measuring impact
mainly actually for myself. I want to know if the work that I'm doing truly has the impact that I think it's having. So what it looks like on the surface, that I'm doing wonderful with all the work I'm doing, I'm tackling great problems, but when you crunch the numbers or when you actually look at it, is it really having the long-lasting sustainable impact that I hope and want it to have, especially when you're working on projects such as like childhood obesity? Is it really cracking those behaviours and having that kind of long-lasting behaviour change or impact that I want, which is pushing my ego aside? Am I clouding it from what I see, and really going forward and measuring that? So that's what I want to know. How can you do that?
Great.
That's everyone.
Yeah, I think it is. Fantastic.
Great. So many questions here.
So what I think I might do, because
you're in charge,
because you've sort of laid the territory out about what we're going to look at and try and address, I'm going to ask you also to characterise what your thoughts were in one particular question. So I'm going to give you some cards and ask you to write that question down so that we can narrow it down a little bit before we start to tackle some of this, and then we'll get stuck into that.